Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 145. Without any delay, start explanation. Tang Wulin was serious in his forging and was not the least bit affected by the life granted to the metal on the other side. Every strike he made with the heavy silver hammers contained his focus and with it brought out the life in the metal. He was in no hurry. He was communicating with the blue coppertite as he slowly brought out the life within it, bit by bit. Instead of pushing it too hard, he allowed it to awaken by its own volition. 10 minutes passed. Then, 30 minutes passed. He had used up twice the amount of time compared to his opponent. Finally, the blue coppertite before him began to glow with a gentle light. A revolving spiral pattern could be seen on the block of metal, but it was not present on every facet. There was only that single pattern on the front. As the spiral pattern slowly surfaced, the clear and translucent blue it gave off seemed to contain no impurities, giving off a refreshing feeling. The metal showed no sign of being artificially conditioned, it was full of life. This is? After Lin Yuhan finished forging, she had been watching Tang Wulin forge intently. From what Tang Wulin had demonstrated earlier, she could tell that he was a formidable opponent. Of course, she did not think that Tang Wulin could win against her, especially in this competition. He had used twice the amount of time compared to her. Even if he managed to complete spirit forging in the end, the quality of his metal would certainly not be as good as hers. Moreover, his marks would be severely deducted since he took this long. With so many people looking at them, it was not possible that he would act shamelessly. However, when she saw Tang Wulin's display of ability before her, her heart shook silently. If she was imbuing life through spirit forging, then Tang Wulin was currently summoning life. He did not directly imbue life into the blue coppertite by means of infusing his soul power into it through forging. Instead, he used the tiny bit of energy present during the 1000 refining process to slowly awaken the blue coppertite. There were many ways to go about spirit forging. The method he was using right now was one of the most difficult ones. However, when a metal was spirit forged through this method, it would have the most vigorous amount of energy, and with that, it would obtain the highest amount of intelligence. However, this method required the support of formidable soul power. The blacksmith would have to continuously infuse the spirit forged metal with life energy. Their martial soul would have to be something related to life energy, or they would not be capable of performing such a feat. Most soul masters would be unable to do this unless they were willing to expend their own life energy. Naturally, if Lin Yuhan managed to notice this fact, Chang Gonyang would have noticed it as well. His brows were tightly knitted as he observed Tang Wulin forge. The method chosen by Tang Wulin was significantly more difficult, so it would be quite difficult for him to succeed. He only had a cultivation base of 3 rings, could he endure it? However, they quickly noticed that Tang Wulin's soul power seemed to be extraordinarily vigorous, and was ceaseless as he continued pushing forward. His forging was not even the least bit affected. After 90 minutes had passed, Tang Wulin's hammers finally struck downward in a quick motion. When he drew his breath, a clear and excited buzz resounded from within the blue coppertite. It was the sound of joy, like the one made by a child who had just woken up. The intense life energy then turned into a bluish glow and entered Tang Wulin's body. Life feedback. Creation spirit forging. These were the unique properties only attainable by those with the highest level spirit forging. Has his spirit forging attained such heights already? Cheers and whistles filled the entire lobby in an instant. A faint smile also appeared on Tang Wulin's face. Although his soul power was still some ways away from rank 40 after cultivating for such a long time, he had the advantage of being endowed with a formidable amount of soul power and endurance. This was possible since he was under the influence of the mysterious heaven method and his own bloodline. Combined, these things afforded him an especially profound understanding of life. He had not spent his contribution points in the special cultivation venue in vain. Every single day he was there, he would feel the life force contained within the flora, giving him a deeper understanding of it. He incorporated all of it into his own cultivation and his forging as well, leading to the leaps and bounds he made in his forging. The success rate he had with his spirit forging far exceeded most rank 5 blacksmith. He had also achieved the coveted creation spirit forging. Although he took quite some time, the quality of his product was different compared to his opponent. Creation Spirit forged metals could still be modified. However, it would not be able to undergo soul forging since it was not completed in one go, but it could still be fuse forged. This alone made the value of his Creation Spirit forged metal far exceed the value of a regular Spirit forged metal. The gentle buzz continued for 30 seconds before it slowly subsided. Although this Spirit forged blue coppertite was not as dazzling as Lin Yuhan's, it was slightly transparent and had a rhythmic flicker of lights within it. It was moving, like the still-beating heart of a human. Lin Yuhan's mouth was agape. Although there was still dissatisfaction within her eyes, she held her tongue. Zhenhua smiled, walked to Tang Wulin's side, and picked up the spirit-forged blue coppertite. "Not bad, you've improved." Tang Wulin grinned, then he sat down cross-legged on the floor, closed his eyes and rested his spirit. Continuously forging for more than an hour had taken a great toll on his spiritual and soul power. "Brother Chaongong, how should we judge this?" Zhenhua asked Chaongong Yang. Chaongong Yang replied matter-of-factly, "They are of different levels. You guys win this round." His gaze was somewhat dismal. He had been so confident of winning this round, but the opposite happened. Just as he had said, both of the forged metals were on different levels. Both went through the spirit forging process, but imbuing life and nurturing life were vastly different things. Creation Spirit Forging was the highest level one could hope to achieve in spirit forging a metal. Heck, even he could not achieve Creation Spirit Forging, let alone Lin Yuhan. This was not because of one's cultivation base or forging abilities. Instead, it was a matter of the characteristics one's martial soul possessed. If one's martial soul did not possess the ability to create life, it would be impossible for one to achieve the highest level of spirit forging. However, Zhenhua shook his head and said, "No, it's we who have lost. Although Tang Wulin's spirit forging quality is superior, your disciple used significantly less time to finish her spirit forging. To top it off, the lightning she infused bestowed a special property into her spirit forged metal. It's certainly superior to a regular fuse forged metal. If we judge efficiency, it would be difficult for it to surpass the practical functionality of your disciple's metal unless Tang Wulin can find a spirit-forged metal of similar quality with this blue coppertite to carry out fuse forging. He also used up 3 times as much time. To judge fairly, Wulin's performance was slightly inferior." Chaongong Yang was astonished. But Yuhan had the advantage of her hammers in forging blue coppertite. Zhenhua smiled. Each side was given the chance to pick a metal, it's only natural to pick one that's favorable to one side. I believe Wulin would make such a choice in the second round as well. You've won the first round. The second round will commence after 10 minutes. Let's get ready. Chaongong Yang's eyes lit up. Now, his gaze towards Zhenhua was no longer as sharp as it was before. Zhenhua had already given him much face. The world of forging has its own set of rules when judging the refinement effects in metals. Even if Lin Yuhan's spirit-forged metal was superior in its practical functions, the results were still on vastly different levels. Strictly speaking, she would not have won no matter what. However, since Zhenhua had put it that way, he did not refute him. He wanted to win the first round too badly. Also, Zhenhua said that both parties would only take a 10-minute break. Tang Wulin had undoubtedly expended more energy during the forging process earlier. How much soul and spiritual power could he recover in a mere 10 minutes? Even if he picked a metal he was familiar with in the second round, the results would still be the same. He would not be at much of an advantage, and the difference in soul power might result in some complications in the refinement of the second metal. Yuhan's would still have a significant chance of winning. Although he knew that the other party was unwilling to gain an advantage by unfair means, Chaongong Yang was still secretly impressed with Zhenhua. As expected of the Blacksmiths Association's president, he was truly generous. 10 minutes later, the second round began. I choose heavy silver. Tang Wulin made the decision without hesitation. He did not, as Lin Yuhan and Chaongong Yang imagined, pick a high-quality rare metal. Instead, he picked the ordinary heavy silver. The unique properties of heavy silver were simple, and it was the most commonly used metal each blacksmith would use when they began their blacksmithing journey. Nobody was unfamiliar with heavy silver. He picked heavy silver. Was it to make it easier for him to spirit forge? It's impossible for him to achieve another creation spirit forging in this round. Lin Yuhan thought to herself. It was extremely difficult to achieve creation spirit forging. The immense toll it took on one's spiritual soul powers were great. Unless he had achieved the level of a saint craftsman, it would otherwise be impossible for him to achieve 2 consecutive creation spirit forged metals. The heavy silver burned as Lin Yuhan stared silently at the teenage boy before her. Tang Wulin noticed her gaze and flashed a smile at her. His smile was warm and clean. Lin Yuhan's heart stirred ever so slightly, and she immediately lowered her head. They were about to start forging soon. She could not allow her emotions to be swayed in any way. For a blacksmith, their focus was of utmost importance. The calcination ended, and the 2 blocks of heavy silver rose slowly. Lin Yuhan drew a deep breath. Like before, her left hammer struck the metal silently. Heavy silver. It would not be a problem for her to spirit forge this. More than anything, she wanted to see if he could successfully spirit forge. Boom! Her left hammer had barely touched the heavy silver when a roar was heard from the opposite side. Lin Yuhan subconsciously lifted her head and looked at Tang Wulin's progress. He actually started forging with the metal without first testing it? Shock ran through her mind as she thought to herself. It was true. Tang Wulin had initiated spirit forging without any preparatory techniques. He immediately struck the heavy silver hard with the hammer he picked up in his right hand. Next, he turned his body and another strike came down with the hammer in his left hand. Although he was not as fast as when he forged the blue coppertite earlier, each strike was increasingly harder. Using his left hand as an axis, his body did not stop turning. With every turn, both hammers would strike down like a meteor shower before he turned his body again by using the force from the rebound as an aid. A sense of fear suddenly flashed through Chang Gongyan's eyes. Could it be? Disorder-splitting wind hammer. It's probably the Tang sect's disorder-splitting wind hammer. Bang! Bang! A glowing beam shot out of the heavy silver after both hammers struck the metal 7 times, completing the 100 refined metal. Tang Wulin's did not stop forging at all. The reason why disorder-splitting wind hammer was so impressive was that every strike would become increasingly stronger. This was made possible through the use of the rebounding force from the strikes made earlier. With every strike being stronger than the previous, this was definitely one of the most powerful and rugged among the forging methods. The piece of heavy metal was jumping whilst Tang Wulin was forging with it. Not only was it not damaged by the forging process, the silver glow on it was growing increasingly more intense. Bang! Bang! A silver beam shot up into the sky as both hammers struck down 16 times. The light was 6 feet high, and a faint dragon's roar could be heard from the dazzling silver. What was that? Meanwhile, Lin Yuhan, who was forging across him, had just completed forging her 100 refined metal. It was then that 2 golden rings arose from beneath Tang Wulin's feet. Soon after, a dragon's roar rippled from his body and resonated with the faint dragon's roar that appeared from the heavy silver earlier. A rich wave of blood essence then released from Tang Wulin's body out of nowhere, and it entered his pair of spirit-forged heavy silver hammers. Suddenly, his hammers turned into a faint golden color. The disorder-splitting wind hammer did not stop right there. Tang Wulin continued forging and struck down with his hammer for the 17th strike. Bang! 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 The strikes got increasingly heavier, and within each strike was an almost crazed energy. Meanwhile, a heated roar of a dragon could be heard alongside each strike. Toward the end, none of the blacksmiths around could differentiate if the resonating dragon's roar was from Tang Wulin or the 1,000 refined heavy silver. It was just too overbearing. Observing closely, a few blacksmiths noticed the forging platform Tang Wulin was using had surprisingly sunk into the wooden floor a little. This had to be from the terrifying show of force he was exhibiting. Bang! Bang! He continued forging with the 33rd strike. Roar! The heated roar of a dragon then filled the entire lobby, and a tiny dragon appeared from the piece of heavy metal before it lunged toward Tang Wulin in a ferocious manner. Spirit forging in Gulf? This was an extremely rare situation that would sometimes occur during the forging process. He was performing creation spirit forging and inadvertently caused the birth of an evil spirit. However, the evil spirit was not malevolent. Instead, it would imbue the spirit-forged alloy with even more offensive prowess. It would be best if evil spirit forging were to happen to an offensive weapon. However, the probability of that happening was even lower than creation spirit forging. Moreover, there was a likelihood that the appearance of the evil spirit might cause harm to the blacksmith, putting a pause on spirit forging and wasting the effort along with the progress made. Suddenly, the golden scales on Tang Wulin's body lit up brilliantly in a flashy manner, causing the tiny dragon to let out a sad moan as it dashed onto Tang Wulin's body before it bounced back into the heavy silver. As this happened, Tang Wulin's body gave off an intense flash similar to a silver alloy, making it look like a mirror. He was no longer turning his body. Tang Wulin lifted both his hammers so high that he formed an arc as he bent his upper body backward. Then, he smashed both his hammers as hard as he could onto the heavy silver. Roar! The dragon's roar this time was both mournful and intense. The silver dragon appeared once again, but instead of plunging toward Tang Wulin, it circled the piece of heavy silver. As a final glow flashed on both Tang Wulin's hands, he put away both spirit-forged heavy silver hammers simultaneously. His body trembled, causing him to almost fall. However, Gu got to his side just in time to help him sit down in the same spot. I'm lucky enough to have had a good meal in the afternoon. This was the only thought going through Tang Wulin's mind at this moment. The strain put on his body from forging two metals continuously with spirit forging was too extreme and was too much for him. He definitely would not have sufficient soul power, so he chose a method that would complete the heavy silver the fastest. However, the method was also the one that drained him the most. He had used his blood essence in place of his soul power to continue pushing on with spirit forging. Although this sounded simple, the significant exhaustion of his blood essence made Tang Wulin feel like he was being squeezed dry. Fortunately, the massive amount of precious spirit items he ingested earlier manifested their effects during that time. That was how he managed to complete 33 strikes with disorder-splitting wind hammer with full determination. Under normal circumstance, Tang Wulin had the ability to continue with disorder-splitting wind hammer beyond what was shown here. However, the spirit forging process earlier did not only require great strength, it also required mastery of said strength. He had to stimulate the heavy silver sufficiently, and yet, he could not harm it even the slightest bit. One could only imagine how much effort he put into this. Ever since the beginning of the competition, Tang Wulin had been determined. He was determined to bring honor to the Blacksmiths Association no matter what. All this time, Zhenhua had been teaching him the various aspects of blacksmithing and supported him in terms of the various resources he required. This had always been in Tang Wulin's mind, so when he finally had the opportunity to repay his uncle master, he would definitely give it all he had. Both his spirit forgings definitely achieved the peak of what one could ever hope to achieve when spirit forging. Achieving either creation or evil spirit forging would qualify one to become a rank 6 blacksmith. That being said, his performance earlier definitely qualified Tang Wulin for rank 6 if Zhenhua did not request him to fuse forge and complete another spirit forging to become a rank 6 blacksmith. If he actually became one, he would be the youngest rank 6 blacksmith in history. Lin Yuhan had stopped forging. She could not help herself from taking a look when the dragon's roar filled the entire room. It was that exact look on his face that had stopped her from working her forging hammers. In the first round, she managed to spirit forge extremely fast while Tang Wulin was excruciatingly slow since he managed to achieve creation spirit forging. During the second round, Tang Wulin showed her that he could indeed be faster than her. Although he only managed to do this because he was extremely familiar with heavy silver, Lin Yuhan knew in her heart that this was something she could not achieve. Looking at the cross-legged Tang Wulin, Lin Yuhan knew that she had completely lost the competition. She was a rank 5 blacksmith and had known for the longest time that she was a genius in forging. Never would she have guessed that someone at a similar age to her could surpass her. However, she could do nothing but accept the fact since it had already happened. Chang Gongyang was stunned as well. He became speechless for a moment when he set his eyes on the piece of evil spirit heavy silver. The competition results were clear. Even a rank 1 blacksmith who had the most basic of knowledge in blacksmithing could tell the winner from the results, let alone Lin Yuhan, who did not even finish her second forging. "We've lost." Chang Gongyang flashed a bitter smile. Zhenhua smiled gently. "Actually, we just won by a narrow margin. If Wu Lin wasn't coincidentally in my corner, I wouldn't have been able to find a young talent capable of taking your disciple head-on. You're welcome to join the Blacksmith Association, but there's no obligation." Chang Gongyang nodded forcefully. At that moment, a scarlet glow flew by the side of his neck unpredictably and seemingly out of nowhere. The scarlet glow arrived in front of Zhenhua in a mere second. It had appeared too suddenly and there was not even a sign of it coming. When one was on the cultivation base Zhenhua was on, they would usually be able to sense danger on a whim. However, this scarlet glow appeared before him before he was able to sense anything. At that moment, a silver glow was seen and Zhenhua disappeared from where he was as suddenly as the scarlet glow had appeared. Then, the scarlet glow flashed and immediately shot into the crowd. The consequences of an attack capable of even threatening forward battle armor masters and a divine blacksmith entering the crowd would be unimaginable. At that exact moment, a gigantic hand appeared out of nowhere and captured the scarlet glow. By then, someone had noticed that the scarlet glow was actually a thin scarlet sword. As soon as the gigantic hand touched it, the sword was instantly recalled, disappearing suddenly without even revealing itself. Surprisingly, Uncle Chef was the one who stopped the scarlet glow. He scoffed as he flashed and disappeared from where he stood in pursuit of the enemy. An overbearing, imposing manner was instantly felt as a bright, red glow emanated from Zhenhua's body. His strong suppressive aura enveloped the whole area. Tang Wulin's eyes had opened from shock earlier, and he happened to witness Zhenhua release his forward battle armor beside Tang Wulin. It seemed as if his entire being sunk into the armor, and before long, his body was already covered in the glorious battle armor. His terrifying, imposing manner almost made the building tremble. "Nobody move!" Zhenhua shouted loudly as he focused the strong suppressive aura emanating from his body directly toward Chang Gongyang. It was definitely a planned assassination. He truly did not have the confidence to avoid the attack earlier, especially since it all happened so quickly. If not for Guu working her magic to use. If it was not for Guu's spatial teleportation that worked its magic, he might actually have been killed by this person. The sword that assassin used had a petrifying force suppressed in it. Its objective was to kill Zhenhua before he managed to release his forward battle armor. For that assassin to have the ability to kill him and even possess the ability to hide from him, the assassin had to be at least a hyperdolor at rank 95. The assassin attacked him without battle armor, or it would have been impossible for him to hide his presence. This was clearly planned. Naturally, Zhenhua was furious after surviving the attack. All the blacksmiths sat down under such intense pressure. Nobody dared to move. Chang Gongyang opened his arms wide to shield Lin Yuhan behind him. 2 yellow, 2 purple and 4 black soul rings appeared and circled his body. He was an 8-ringed soul dolor. However, even a person who possessed the cultivation base of an 8-ringed soul dolor would not be able to stand before the suppressive aura of a forward battle armor master. It would be impossible for him not to have his own battle armor, but he held it in and did not release his battle armor. "President Zhenhua," Chang Gongyang shouted loudly. Zhenhua recalled the imposing manner emanating from his body a little and descended from the sky. "Kill them!" Someone from the crowd of blacksmiths shouted. The attempted assassination on the president was unforgivable. Everyone knew that Zhenhua stood atop the pinnacle throughout the Federation. This was not only due to his stature as a forward battle armor, but was also because of him being a divine blacksmith. Forward battle armor would not be possible without divine blacksmiths. To top it off, he was the only divine blacksmith, so his death would make obtaining a forward battle armor infinitely more difficult unless another divine blacksmith were to appear. The assassination that had just happened was just too nerve-wracking. Zhenhua was the heart and soul of the blacksmithing world. Almost every single blacksmith had benefited from him. How could they not be raving mad at the moment? Chang Gongyang pressed his lips together and looked at Shenhua, who emanated a suppressive aura. He knew in his heart that explaining would be useless right now, especially since he was the one who came up with this challenge that took place right before the assassination. I guess you're a blacksmith from another continent, aren't you? Shenhua asked in a cold voice. Chang Gongyang was shaken, and before long, his heart sank to the bottom. Everyone knew that there were 3 continents in the current world. It was also common knowledge that the Star Luo and Star Do continent were rivals to the Doluo continent. If the ocean did not separate them with such great distance, the war between them would have intensified a long time ago. Despite being separated by a vast ocean, conflict still seemed to find its way toward their direction. If one were to guess the identity of the person who wanted Shenhua dead the most, the rulers of the 2 other continents would be the most likely people. Chang Gongyang knew that he had run out of luck, especially since Shenhua had already seen through his intentions here. How could this have happened? We're not the ones. A clear and stubborn voice was heard behind Chang Gongyang. Lin Yuhan showed her head and faced Shenhua, the forward battle armor master. She did not want to give in at all. Who else would it be if you guys aren't behind this? Immediately, the blacksmith retaliated in rage. We're not behind this, period. Lin Yuhan objected, there were tears rolling in her eyes. Follow me. Shenhua did something odd at that moment. He waved at Chang Gongyang, Tang Wulin, and Ji Yu with his right hand at the same time before a red glow enveloped them. Why didn't he attack me right away? Chang Gongyang felt like his actions were ridiculous. Although Chang Gongyang was also a battle armor master, he was merely a 2-word battle armor master. Standing before Shenhua, the 4-word battle armor master, there was no way he could fight back. However, Shenhua did not attack right away. With pressure and concern, Chang Gongyang followed Shenhua and walked toward the elevator, all the while protecting Lin Yuhan behind him. As they returned to the office, the 4-word battle armor Shenhua had on turned into a red glow before it disappeared into his body. It disappeared just like that. Have a seat? Shenhua pointed at the couch. Chang Gongyang frowned. You believe us? Shenhua said calmly, I don't believe you, but I believe in blacksmiths. Since you surrendered on your own volition when the first round ended instead of begging for sympathy, this proves your qualifications as a blacksmith. So, tell me. How did you come here? Why did you challenge us? He asked in a deep voice. Tang Wulin and Ji Yu stood behind Shenhua. Tang Wulin was filled with shock as well. He woke up in shock just after the scarlet glow appeared. His heart was still pounding a little from a fear that came from the bottom of his heart. The sword was simply too terrifying, and it was as if there was a disastrous, ferocious beast hidden within it. One could only imagine what would happen if someone were to be attacked by the sword. However, Uncle Chef managed to grab the incoming attack with just his bare hands. At that moment, Tang Wulin saw that Uncle Chef's palm seemed to have turned into a faint golden color. That was the only thing that he saw. Chang Gongyang forced a smile. He was currently in a life and death situation, so he dared not hide anything. With Shenhua's ability and the fact that they were in his territory, killing them both would be a piece of cake. Moreover, they were from another continent. Absolutely nobody would give their innocence back if they admitted to the claims of them being spies. You're right, we're not from the Doluo continent. We're from the Star Luo continent, and I'm the vice president of the Star Luo continent's Blacksmith Association. President Shenhua, you have to know that Soul technology has advanced considerably in accordance with advancing time, and our rivalry isn't as intense as the past. It was an official from the Doluo continent who invited us to represent Star Luo in Doluo continent for research purposes. We're here following the representative team. I've also been admiring you for a long time since I'm also a blacksmith. It's only natural that I'd like to see what the blacksmithing world in the Doluo continent was capable of. Initially, we had no plans to come but the representative. As he spoke, Shenhua began to slowly understand the events that had transpired. It was obvious that somebody provoked Chang Gongyang's ambition and made him bring Lin Yuhan here. We truly have no idea who attempted to assassinate you. That's all that I'm going to say. Believe it or not, it's your call. Chang Gongyang forced a smile. However, if you insist, the blame's on me. Yuhan has nothing to do with it. Although Yuhan doesn't belong to the Doluo continent, it's hard to come by a genius like her in the blacksmithing world. Regardless of what you're going to do to me, can you promise to spare Yuhan's life? Zhenhua smiled calmly. It's impossible for you to leave after something like this has transpired. Could you tell me the identity of the person who provoked you to come here? Are they from your representative team? Chang Gongyang forced out a smile. They are not. Perhaps you won't believe me, but that's really not the case. We met a blacksmith when we got here. His name's Ning Fengji. Of course, I don't know if that's his real name or not. He's a saint craftsman with many unique abilities when it came to forging. His expertise is forging with only one hammer, and I won against him by only a narrow margin. He told me how outstanding you are as a divine blacksmith, but you have no air in the forging world. Zhenhua frowned after hearing what Chang Gongyang had said. Everything had just become even more puzzling. Based on what he just told them, this Ning Fengji did not come from Star Luo continent. Instead, he was a blacksmith from the Doluo continent. However, as the president of the Blacksmiths Association, Zhenhua did not know of such a blacksmith and if the assassin was related to the person who provoked Chang Gongyang. That being said, how much of what Chang Gongyang said could he believe? Zhenhua replied, Brother Chang Gongyang, you and your disciple are our temporary guests. We'll investigate the incident properly and inform your team to come for you guys at the same time. Chang Gongyang was stunned. You believe me? Zhenhua smiled. I only believe in my instinct. Right at that moment, the door opened and Uncle Chef walked in. Zhenhua looked at him and asked, How was it? Uncle Chef shook his head lightly. The assassin was exceedingly fast. It seems that the assassin is a rare, agility-type title Doluo that's a hyper-Doluo. He might not be able to take me head-on, but he's exceedingly fast. He managed to escape after I pursued him for quite some time. You seem to be in quite some trouble. What with a hyper-Doluo assassin on your back? Heh? Zhenhua smiled calmly. It seems like someone wants me dead. Uncle Chef said while being deep in thought. The assassin has some unique abilities. His soul power is boosted by the circulation of his blood essence. I can't even tell what martial soul he has. It's all a little peculiar. Could it be that he's an evil soul master? Tang Wulin said after listening intently for quite some time. An evil soul master? Zhenhua, Uncle Chef, and Chang Gongyang were stunned by those three words. It's quite likely, Uncle Chef said without thinking twice, if he's an evil soul master, everything would fall into place. In recent years, the evil soul masters have become increasingly more active and have been causing trouble, terrorizing people everywhere. The Federation has launched a Federation-wide investigation on them. Nobody would have thought that they'd actually come here looking for you. Since an evil soul master even dared to come here, it's quite obvious that they have something, or rather, someone powerful to rely on that's behind all this. You know, it kind of rings the bell a little after hearing you guys discuss the matter. That blacksmith Ning Fengji seems different from regular soul masters. The energy he gives off when forging is exceptionally cold, Chang Gongyang said. Zhenhua laughed. Great. An evil soul master. I've never fought an evil soul master before. Uncle Chef, tell Wulin about that thing. Let me handle the assassination. All right. Uncle Chef looked deeply into his eyes and turned around to look at Tang Wulin. Please, follow me to the small canteen. You have to come alone. He intentionally emphasized that he wanted Tang Wulin to go alone. Sure. Tang Wulin looked at Gu apologetically, but she flashed a smile his way. Tang Wulin's impression of Uncle Chef had totally changed after his visit to Heaven Do City this time around. Uncle Chef was definitely someone who stood at the peak of the continent. Not only was he in possession of a divine mecha, he was also an expert at the title Doluo, capable of taking on a hyper Doluo. Even if he was at Shrek Academy, he would at least possess an ability similar to the Sea God Pavilion's Elder. Space around them became a little distorted as they entered the small canteen. A gentle soul power was isolating them from the outside world. The only thing Tang Wulin managed to see was a faint green ring that seemed to isolate the space they were in. It felt magical, and was as if they were covered by a gigantic air bubble. Is this some kind of high-level soul power manipulation to create an isolated area? Uncle. How should I actually address you? Uncle Chef smiled calmly as he replied, my name's Mu Yi. Just Uncle Yi will do. Uncle Yi. Tang Wulin definitely had the gift of gab when it came to sweet talking. Mu Yi then said, you're probably wondering why I'm speaking to you alone. Truthfully, I've been thinking about this for a very long time and I've finally made up my mind. I won't be beating around the bush, so I'll get straight to the point. I'm hoping that you'd be willing to inherit my teachings, or rather, my sect's teachings. Tang Wulin was stunned. Uncle Yi, what do you mean? He already had 3 teachers for forging alone. Including his uncle Master Zhenhua, he would already have 4 teachers. Meanwhile, he also had Grand Teacher and Teacher Wu to guide him in cultivation. Would this mean he would have another teacher? Mai Yi continued, since you're from Shrek Academy, I initially hesitated because my sect used to be rivals with Shrek. It's just that, my sect has been going downhill as time passed and we can no longer go against Shrek. I've heard from Zhenhua that you've joined the Tang sect, am I right? Yes, that's right. Tang Wulin nodded. Mi Yi said, are you willing to give up your identity in the Tang sect? You'll probably still be an outer disciple. Giving up your identity there shouldn't affect you too much. Tang Wulin looked at him in shock and shook his head immediately. No, I absolutely can't do that. The Tang sect has been a great help in elevating my cultivation in the past. All my current cultivation methods are from the Tang sect. I can't leave them. Mu Yi frowned. Don't worry about it. My sect's techniques are definitely comparable to the Tang sect. Moreover, I'm the current sect master. As long as you're willing to learn from me, you'll be getting more than what you're currently getting from the Tang sect. Although we're not comparable with the Tang sect, we emphasize different things. To top it all off, we're definitely no weaker when compared to the Tang sect when you reach the peak. Tang Wulin continued shaking his head. I'm sorry, Uncle Yi. I can't promise you that. I like the Tang sect. I'm passionate about the Tang sect. No matter what happens, it's impossible that I betray the Tang sect. Moreover, I'm now a member of the Battle Soul Hall. He had been receiving various benefits from the Tang sect ever since he joined. In truth, he did not even have to sacrifice a single thing. How could he leave Tang sect just like that? Mi Yi was a little surprised as he replied, you've joined the Battle Soul Hall? That's indeed a little troublesome. It's all right, I'll go to Tang sect myself as long as you're willing to. I've sufficient pull there to bring you over. Tang Wulin lifted his head and looked at him. Uncle Yi, why did you choose me? This was the question burning at the back of his head. Mi Yi replied, it's because you have talents that suit our sect's methods very well. Many outsiders think that the most important thing to our sect is a fitting martial soul. However, one's bloodline is the most important factor, not one's martial soul. Only people with a powerful blood essence can cultivate our sect's methods to its peak. It's uncommon knowledge that the sect leaders of every generation do not have extraordinarily powerful martial souls. Instead, we're actually talented when it came to our blood essence. I realized how extraordinary you were in this aspect when I laid eyes on you. Your powerful blood essence actually surpasses those your age, and you're far beyond ordinary soul masters. I, for one, didn't have such amazing blood essence when I was your age. That being said, I was initially hesitant when I found out you were a student at Shrek Academy. I've been thoroughly thinking about it after I went back, and soon, I finally decided, because I probably won't have anyone to inherit my teachings with blood essence richer than yours in this world. This is the most important thing, since there are probably ways to make up for the rest. For instance, Shrek is just an academy. You can leave after you're done learning and have graduated. Meanwhile, I'm willing to pay a price to get you out of the Tang sect. Tang Wulin was shocked. Does that mean your sect cultivates mainly with blood essence? That's right, Mu Yi said in pride. In blood essence cultivation, I dare say that there's nobody who is able to teach you more than our sect. Tang Wulin frowned and proceeded to shake his head after some thought. I'm sorry, Uncle Yi. I really can't promise you that. The academy part is still acceptable, but I can't betray the Tang sect. I didn't only learn a lot from them, but I genuinely liked them. I've been hearing tales of the Tang sect ever since I was a young boy, and I'm honored that I was able to join the Tang sect. Thank you for your kindness. Mu Yi said a little angrily. You've heard tales about the Tang sect when you were younger? Then, have you heard tales of the body sect? Tang Wulin was stunned for a moment and almost stammered but did not say a thing. Could he actually say that he had not heard of it before? In truth, he truly never heard of this sect in the past. A gush of disappointment appeared on Mu Yi's face. The body sect was indeed going downhill. Ever since the calamity that happened tens of thousands of years ago, the body sect's downhill descent began. It was no longer on the pinnacle of this continent. Once upon a time, all the sect masters in the body sect either had a cultivation base beyond that of a hyper-dolor or were demigod-level experts who had surpassed even a limit dolor. However, as time passed, Shrek continued creating powerful experts to lead while he, as the sect master of the body sect, could not even break through to a hyper-dolor. Uncle Yi, are you all right? Tang Wulin asked carefully when he noticed something wrong with Mu Yi's expression. Get lost? Mu Yi waved with a little frustration. A gush of soul power was felt emanating from him as the soul power around them weakened. Then, Mu Yi morphed into a glow and disappeared. The only thing that Tang Wulin could feel was a force that pushed against him, causing him to stagger a couple of steps backward. When he looked forward, Mu Yi was nowhere to be seen in the small canteen. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.